Hi, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Marple Journal Podcast, a show all about the amazing people and things that we have going on in our local area. I'm Sophie Cook, your host, and today we have Gemma Donnelly in the studio. Gemma is a coach and breathworker. She specialises in resilience and confidence and so much more. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you being here. Gemma is always inspiring me to focus on self-love and well-being, and we are friends as well, so I'm really excited to have her here. Welcome to the studio and welcome to Marple Journal, Gemma.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
My first ever podcast.
First ever podcast. My first ever one by myself, so here we are.
A first for us both, yeah.
Exactly, but thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to get into this conversation and just have a nice chat with you.
Thank you.
And be in this lovely studio, Cheshire Podcast Studio, shout out. Little shout out there. So to start with, can you just introduce yourself and what you do to our listeners?
Yep. So I'm obviously Gemma. I'm a coach and breath worker. So I help people regulate their nervous system and quieten their busy mind so they feel confident and resilient.
Amazing. And I love the work you do. Followed you for a while, but we actually met at an event, didn't we, a while ago around mental health and well-being. And I've been to some of your breathwork events, which are amazing. So I'm really excited to get into this conversation with you. Obviously, we have to talk about Marple a bit, as we're called the Marple Journal. So what's your connection to Marple?
I live in Marple. I bought my first house there nearly 5 years ago. And when I went to view my house, I hadn't been there before, but I fell in love with it instantly. And yeah, I've been there ever since.
I love that.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a nice area. What do you like about Marple? What are kind of the benefits for you being there?
It's just surrounded by so much nature. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I have a little dog called Dennis. So we're often out pounding all the canals and the beautiful spaces. So I really love it.
And obviously your accent isn't a Greater Manchester accent. Where are you from originally?
I am Irish. So I'm from the north and I've been in Manchester, Cheshire for 15 years now. So a really long time. But I love it. I love both. Both are home.
Yeah, new home. So can you tell me a bit more about why you do what you do?
Yeah. So confidence was something I definitely struggled with myself. I would say from the outside I was very outgoing, sociable. So you would have expected that I was confident, but I didn't have what I call real confidence, which was a deep sense of self-worth, knowing myself on a deeper level and resilience. You know, I achieved great success quite early on in my life, and that was in a different career entirely. And then I obviously have changed careers since then to then coach people in relation to confidence and resilience. So quieting the busy mind, learning how to conquer stress and self-doubt so that they can achieve the great things that they want or overcome obstacles and just create a life that they love without things holding them back.
So I think a lot of the time it is that your mind or the things you're feeling holding you back from things. It doesn't mean you can't do the job or you can't do what you want to do, but it can be that overthinking, that inner critic. You know, I know I've struggled with that, and I think especially if you're in a corporate career or whatever you're doing, you know, it can really take over, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, when I was younger, I was definitely really driven, and I didn't realise that a lot of that was insecurity within myself. So I achieved a lot of success at a young age by conventional standards by that age. But I had this deep sense of feeling like I needed to prove myself through achievement. And so when I burnt out at 24, then I wanted to understand myself at a deeper level and learn how to quieten the busy mind, you know, that inner critic, and regulate my nervous system so that I could feel calm and not have high functioning anxiety.
It's a tough job though. It's like, how do I do this?
Yeah, I know.
Just to function normally. Like, it's simple things that add up to make you kind of be able to just get on with daily life and like thrive.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that in a work and you don't focus on those things, it just becomes chaos.
Yeah.
So it's really important what you do. I mean, you've mentioned it a bit, but kind of how has the work you've done now changed your life?
Yeah. So I changed careers entirely. My background was in law. That's why I moved to Manchester initially, to do a solicitor's course. So then I went into an international law firm. Then I experienced burnout and I moved into the construction industry. So I was very much a woman in a man's world. There was maybe less than 5 women in the company at the time, of over 200. And I was in a really senior role at a young age. So I had those thoughts of being a bit of an imposter, a woman in a man's world. So overcame that to manage all of in-house legal, and then went on to manage people development within that. So I was coached, and that helped me achieve various things, but then it also helped me overcome limitations within my own mind, and then, obviously feel calm and confident so that I could do the job that had a lot of pressures, but not feel the extent of that pressure.
Yes.
And still keep, the real me, not fully stressed or anxious and things like that.
Did you find when you felt that imposter syndrome, when you were in that, those other roles, that you were kind of not the real you, like you were hiding a lot of your true self? Or did you find you could be yourself, but it was just quite a lot of pressure?
When I was in the law, in the international law firm, definitely. I felt like I was almost like a square peg in a round hole in that. But I hadn't started the inner work then. So I definitely molded myself to suit my environment, and then lost a little bit of myself in that environment because I didn't have the confidence just to be all of me.
Yeah.
But then when I went into construction, I had already started my inner work and, regained my confidence and learned how to quieten the mind and regulate the nervous system. So when in there, I had the initial thought of actually, should I mold myself to suit this environment? And I decided no, I wasn't going to compromise who I really was to fit in. And I was like, I'm just going to be me in here. And actually that's what worked well for me.
Yeah.
I had probably preconceived ideas as what you should be, as someone fulfilling that kind of a role. And I decided I was going to be me in that role and not that preconceived notion. And I was told that's what really worked. So I'm glad I did.
Being yourself is always the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So the sessions that you run, I know you do different things. You do a bit of one-to-one coaching, you run breathwork sessions, you do retreats, things like that.
Yeah.
Could you kind of break down those sessions and how they appeal to different people?
Yeah. So corporate wellness, so I go into businesses and teach their execs or leadership team how to manage stress and the pressures of a demanding role, and embody real confidence within their role. And then one-to-one work, so coaching and events, which are based around breath work and confidence and resilience, so overcoming challenges in life, and then obviously having more joy.
Yeah. And that, I mean, as I mentioned, I've been to a few. I do really enjoy them. So for someone that doesn't know what breathwork is, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't really know. And then I was like, we just do a bit of breathing, and I've done yoga before. It's the same thing, but it was quite different. Can you kind of break that down for someone that doesn't know?
Yeah. So there's lots of different types of breath work you can have, little tools and techniques, which I teach people to have in their toolbox, I call it. And that's really helpful on a day-to-day, if you've got stresses and demands and pressure to help regulate your nervous system. Yeah. But the events that I run in Breathwork Journeys is very much a journey. So you're learning how to quieten the mind by regulating the nervous system. So when we breathe in a certain way, the style of breath work that I do is called conscious connected breath work. You're basically taking the nervous system from, if you've had a stressful day, it might be in fight or flight. So you will be in the sympathetic nervous system, and you'll just kind of ease that back down. So you're into the parasympathetic nervous system through the breath, which means then you feel very calm, relaxed. More than just managing stress and the demands of life, it is a healing modality. So therefore, you basically are healing the body from at a cellular level. We go through life and we've got different experiences that may be challenging. And if we don't express the emotion attached to that, our body stores it. So our bodies are like filing cabinets, and basically anything that we don't express or release in the moment, whether that be, like an old boss shouting at you and you maybe didn't say what you thought in the moment or whatever, our bodies hold on to that, and that stored emotion gets trapped until it's released and expressed. So that can be back tension, illness. So it's a way to heal the body.
Great. So as well as those breathwork sessions, how else can people quiet the mind, focus on themselves, like process emotions? You know, I do a lot of journaling. Is that quite a good thing for people to do?
Yeah, and great in the Marple Journal. I love a journal.
Oh yeah, the Marple Journal.
I actually found one of my first journals yesterday. I was clearing out my office and I started that 5 years ago. And I think it's such a very, very simple yet effective tool. You know, you can I travel quite a lot, so you can bring your journal on holiday with you. It's obviously very affordable. Everybody can have a journal and it's just a brain dump. So it's called conscious stream of thoughts. So in our mind, on average, we'd have at least 60,000 thoughts per day.
Wow.
And it's just dumping whatever's in your head down on paper. You don't need to read it back. It's not about it making sense. It's not so much a dear diary. It's just literally releasing some of the mind chatter.
Yeah. I always think mine is like a burn book type thing, like from Mean Girls. I'm like, nobody read this.
I know,
do you remember like when you were younger, you could get those diaries with a padlock on and like a key code? I'm like, I need one of them.
I know.
Or sometimes, tip for everyone, if you want to just write your thoughts and you want them read, sometimes burn them. That helps. I mean, be careful. But if you've got a log burner or something, I've done that before, because then you just like, the bad thoughts are gone. I can move on with my day.
Yeah, that's quite
So that's something I do. But I think, like you said, journaling is such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
So let's touch on manifestation.
Okay.
So I know you touch on that in your work. It's something I've looked into, but people I think don't really understand the power of manifestation, and also are a bit maybe shy of like the spirituality side of it. Because I know people say, oh, you're into that, are you? Like, and I'm like, it's not it's not that deep. Like, you can do it in little bits. You know, what is the power of manifestation?
I think it's funny, the term manifestation has only really came around in maybe the last 5 years or something like that. Really, it's a power of belief plus action and then having faith in the not yet seen. So manifestation is having a clear vision about what you want and calling that into fruition into your life. So faith and fear both demand, it's a Bob Proctor quote, but both demand belief in the not yet seen. So you can have one or the other, and it's about having faith in what you don't see. I am spiritual. I didn't talk about that for many years in my work because I probably believed that, it was a limiting belief within myself. If people seen that side of me, that they may not take me seriously. But I learned the science behind all the mind-body stuff too, but I still believe in things that we don't know about.
Yeah. It's like I collect crystals, and it doesn't mean I'm a massive like spiritual person, but I'm trying to kind of lean into it. And also I find sometimes just having a particular crystal that is meant to bring you luck or is meant to help with self-love or things like that. Like I have a little rose, I've knocked the mic, rose quartz bracelet there. And I just find it makes me feel a little bit better. And I think even if people don't understand it or you want to just do something small, like read about it, I think it's nice to open your mind and just be interested in things, you know, and read about them and be open to it. You know, I think it works differently for everyone, doesn't it? So it's something that's important, I think, generally, being in touch with yourself and your mind, that sort of thing. Yeah. So talking about self-confidence, obviously a lot of your work you do is around building confidence for people, and you've had to do a lot of work on your confidence. You're an independent, strong single woman in her 30s, which is amazing. Like for me, that's a role model for me. I'm quite newly single and trying to kind of find myself again and find self-love. What advice would you give to kind of someone in your, I don't know, age range and single life, trying to be independent, running a business, you know, how to focus on self-love?
I think self-love comes back to acceptance of all of who you are. So confidence is loving and accepting who you are as opposed to who you think you need to be. And I think that can be anything. So you don't need to look a certain way or, you know, tick certain boxes. And I think you can have a lot of fun being single. I meant that I got to travel a lot solo and wasn't held back in any way by different, trying to please other people. I got to
just do whatever you want to do in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So speaking about travel, which is the next thing we want to talk about, can you tell me about your travel experience? I know you've done a lot of traveling alone, meeting new people. That's really cool and inspirational. So could you just talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of my own goals, I set goals all the time. I've been setting goals since I was 14. But one of them was to be able to travel solo. And I had been to Bali one time with a friend, like many years ago now, maybe about 8 years ago. And I wanted to go back, but going there straight away, I knew would have been a wee bit too much of a stretch in my own growth zone. So then I thought, well, I'll go to somewhere in Europe first. So I went to Malta for 5 days. And then, that obviously went well. I came back and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Bali now. Like that is my goal. So I booked that. And I didn't just want to go and stay in one place. I wanted to travel around there in another island in Indonesia. So I booked that. And at the time I was training in hypnotherapy. It's something I use within my coaching, taking people to the deeper levels within their subconscious mind. And so we received a lot of hypnotherapy throughout our training, and every week I was like, brilliant, I'll come back with something else I wanted to work on. And one of the things that then I worked on was that I just had one session on having the confidence to go and do that. And I already had my trip to Bali booked, but having that hypnotherapy session to give me that extra boost of confidence then sent me on my way. So when I went, I had a great time. And I traveling alone, you meet loads of people, and that's half of the appeal of traveling solo for me anyway. Like I love people, I love hearing their experiences and their stories. And I think like if I'd have went with a person, I maybe wouldn't have met as many people really, because I was probably more approachable because I was on my own. People are curious as to why you're on your own.
What are you doing?
I know. And you do build up a lot of like confidence and resilience in doing that, because you will go to events on your own and and bar on your own, even if you're not drinking, and you know that you don't need that to have the confidence to be in that space. It's just an amazing opportunity to meet new people and have fun and shared experiences. So I came back from that adventure. Adventure is one of my core values. And I was on the plane the way home, and I just knew that I needed to do more of it. So then I went and booked a big trip and I went traveling around half the world then on my own after that.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I've done like very small amounts of solo traveling. Like I traveled to Barcelona on my own, but my friend lived out there. So she was at work and I was walking around, and even that little snippet of solo traveling, I was like, love it. And then I've booked a solo trip for September, like a little 3-night spa stay in Marrakesh.
Oh, nice.
So just to relax on my own, I thought, do you know what? It'd be so nice to just not have someone there.
I know.
Like not even annoying you, but just you have to consider what they want to do.
Yeah.
And whether it fits in, do you really want to do that or are you just going along with it? And I think it's such a positive solo traveling, but I'd like to do more of it. I think for people listening or watching, maybe if they're quite young, like the fear of solo traveling, how do you combat that? Because I think that would be something I'd worry about, like being on my own and the danger. Yeah.
Well, obviously I did say I had hypnotherapy on that. But it's just retraining your brain. I say just, it's not a overnight thing, but I was in the habit then of retraining my brain. So I learned how to quieten the mind, that fear, and work with it. Sometimes it's not completely getting rid of it, but shrinking it to a point where it's not controlling you and you're more in control of it. Turning your fear into excitement.
Yeah. And then I guess once you have one positive experience, you can reflect on that, and it encourages you to do it again. And if you're like, I met so many people, had the best time. Definitely, I think that's a big thing. So to take us to a bit of a different place, I know you lost your mum a few years ago, and that has maybe took quite a toll on you and had a lot of impact on what you've done with your life. I'd just love to ask you a bit about that, and if you'd like to open up about it, that would be great.
Yeah. So I lost my mummy 8 years ago now. I just turned 29, but actually I lost her much earlier than that. So I grew up without parents from when I was 14. I went to live with my sister, and my mummy was a single parent, but she had a lot of unprocessed pain. And so then she went out of my life when I was 14, back in when I was 28, and died 12 weeks later.
Oh gosh, that's quite a lot then to deal with.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And how has that impacted you now in your work? Do you think it has influenced anything? Or I guess because you had that challenging time, it's maybe different.
Definitely. Like if I didn't know pain, I wouldn't know compassion. I help people in various ways, and that's like getting them to their highest points, but then helping them overcome challenges. And if I didn't have the experiences in my life, then I wouldn't know how to help people overcome challenges, you know. So one time I was at a club for women last year, and I was helping someone overcome something pretty significant, but I was also seeing some of my clients having the most success they've ever had. And one of the questions asked of us was, what do you want to be remembered for? And I was thinking about what I was helping people with at the time, and I said, helping people through their most challenging times, but also their highest points. So both things, not just the highs and the lows, because that's the reality of life. So yeah.
Yeah, it is. Do you think your kind of independence as a person and what you've gone through with work and things is to do a lot with kind of the parental role you had in your life because you were so independent?
Yeah.
Do you think that then impacted how you went through your kind of professional journey?
Yeah, 100%. It could not have had an impact. And there's a thing in psychology called hyper-independence. And so I definitely was very, very independent, and I still am. And I think like that's can be a really great trait. You know, it's helped me achieve many things, but also, you know, I had to learn that you can do anything, but not everything. So it's actually very smart to learn from people who have, you know, I've obviously been coached in the past and, you know, and I had breathwork as well to heal. So if I didn't know how to heal from my own experience or how to overcome the limitations in your mind, then I wouldn't have went down this professional journey myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And just linking it back to being independent and single woman.
Yeah.
Inspirational single woman. You know, everyone talks about, it's always like, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? When are you doing this? When are you doing that? I feel the pressure at the moment with like, you know, recently going through a breakup, being on my own, and it's like your family and friends are waiting for you, not everyone, but to get in that next relationship and kind of start that journey. How do you kind of deal with that? Because I find it difficult, like managing other people's opinions of things, you know. I think that comes with just that confidence in yourself. But I find that at the moment, and it's like your whole world doesn't revolve around a relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm in that point where I'm trying to find just being happy by myself and the benefits of being on your own and what you're able to do. Like, how have you managed that over the years? Because you must have had people trying to input in your life, you know?
I think there are expectations. Especially it depends on, like, if you've came from very traditional culture. I remember one time I was at a wedding. I was only 24 and I was with my boyfriend at the time that we'd been together for a few years, and people were wondering when he was going to ask the question. And I thought, I don't even want to get married. I'm 24. Like, I was...
Don't ask him that.
I was like, no, don't give him ideas. And now I'm 36. And yeah, so most of my friends and obviously people I work with are... parents and have their own families and married for many years, and probably actually a lot now are kind of going through the cycle of going through a divorce, and so second wave of all of that, whereas I'm still here in my first wave.
It's like, I'm fine. Leave me here. But it's an exciting thing, I think. And also I think not settling for things that don't meet your standards or don't make you happy.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I do think, just like stay in something because it's easier. But then I think, why? Like,
I know.
You can give yourself all the love that someone else can give you. It's just finding that and then your standards go higher and you think, no,
Yeah.
you're not coming in my life unless you're going to add to it, actually.
Exactly.
So
That's true.
It is positive, but I think it's important, and maybe for listeners and watchers, seeing someone, well, two of us over here, like independent women that are single and thriving and enjoying things and focused on what they want to do. I think it's important, that visibility, because I wouldn't say I had that growing up. It was like everyone gets married and has children and settles down, and I still hope that's kind of my path one day, but I think it's important to enjoy the moment you're in now. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that again. It's just something I want to talk about. So briefly touching on your business, so growing your business, being self-employed. Can you talk me through how you kind of grew that to what it is now?
Yeah, so I was in consultancy before, and I've been in consultancy for 9 years, and I built my business alongside working full time. So I started coaching alongside doing that, and then I was coaching and consultancy for about 3.5 years, and then quit to go full time in my business. It's very much still was a leap of faith. I think you have to take the leap at some point in anything, and it is absolutely my passion and purpose, but it wasn't easy to walk away from a career that I'd built up over maybe 15 years or something like that. But self-development is who I am. Like I said, I've been setting goals since I was 14, but then my own journey with that was different, in the sense initially it was all about achievement, and then when I burnt out, I was like, okay, how do I understand myself at a deeper level so that I could manage the stress of the pressure I was putting on myself, and then develop real self-confidence. And obviously that's why I coach on confidence and resilience now. But yeah, I built it alongside working full time initially.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end of my questions now, but a few things I want to ask you before we finish this off. So one piece of advice to someone feeling uninspired at the moment.
There's a great book called The Gap and the Gain, and I would recommend that they read that. So just to explain, when we aren't feeling so great, we're probably looking at the gap between where we are and where we want to be, or who we are and who we want to be. And within that, then we're thinking where we're falling short. So that obviously eats into your confidence and just feel good hormones. Whereas if you look at the gain, which is all of the things that you want to be or have, look at all those that already exist within you in your life right now, that will then increase your confidence and motivation to go and get more of that. So focus on the gain as opposed to the gap.
I love that. I love that advice. It's inspiring me as well as everyone listening. And lastly, as we are called the Marple Journal, what is one thing, if someone found your journal, which you hope maybe would never happen, if someone found your journal, what is the one thing you would want them to read?
That there's more wisdom in your heart than there is in your head.
I love
so
that.
Often we can be controlled by the mind. We think it's the most logical thing, but often what is right for us comes from our heart. And don't underestimate your own potential.
Love that. So inspired. So thank you so much, Gemma, for being here. But before you go, I want you to plug yourself, get people following you, get people involved. How can people get involved? Where can they find you?
So I am on Instagram as I am Gemma Donnelly. And then my website is coachingwithgemma.co.uk.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hopefully people get involved. Yeah. Give you a bit of a stalk as well, maybe. Thank you so much for being on the show. First ever episode, and I'm so glad it was you on here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to Gemma for being on the show, and thank you so much for listening and watching wherever you are. I hope you found something positive from this episode, or lots of things positive, hopefully. And if you'd like to share this, share it with someone in the local area in Marple, or a business in Marple that would benefit from hearing about what Gemma's got to say and from following the Marple Journal. If you enjoyed it on Spotify, please like, share, save the episodes, rate us. If you're on YouTube, like, comment and subscribe. Our socials on Instagram, we're the Marple Journal Podcast. Give us a follow, comment on our post, let us know what you'd like to see. The Marple Journal on Facebook if you're over there. To get involved, to be a guest, email us, themarplejournal@outlook.com, and I'll see you here again for our next episode. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.